perfect for it already,
but he never looked. Damnation lay that way. Temptation passed. The sense of enlightenment ready to fight. Ready to fight, but no challenge came. Greasy tendrils of warp energy contorted themselves out of existence, leaving the boarding party in darkness. It was darker than a terrestrial.
You can be the medic. The other one can be a
aggressor. Aided his superior eyes in creating a grainy image of the
I don't think you've got any real upgrades yet.
For a second, Gilliman thought himself lost, cast into the Empyrean itself, for he looked upon a scene drawn from nightmare. In the century since the end of the heresy, Gilliman had fought demons. He had trodden the surface of worlds changed by the unclean touch of chaos. He had seen through windows of flesh, conjured by sorcerers, into depthless dimensions of evil, in celebration of Fulton's victories for the Imperium. But those days were lifetimes dead, and the derelict avenue was now empty. Gilliman's and Victaris suzerains scanned their surroundings. Shields and legatine power axes.
I don't find that thing on bad, but usually because once you get there, what you do is just blow a wall or two, and then whenever they try to get in there, just blow, destroy them.
His engineered brain was capable of processing a phenomenal amount of information. That had always been his special talent. He listened into the battle chat of the fleets and the quiet order exchanges of his squads as they spread out. He scanned the frequencies for notification from his other strike teams, all while reading data screen readouts, scrolling down his Facebook. He formulated plans, gave brief orders via logs and data list, but it was the ship that absorbed him most. The triumphal way had changed beyond all recognition. Distance was difficult to judge, and the darkest areas could not be anything but shadows. The warriors of Ultramar were a lonely island of blue in the dark. Theo was first to break the silence. The triumphal way, he said. It has changed. A century of years is more than enough time for evil to do its work. The Emperor's children have fallen far, said Athos. The Primarch remembered the triumphal way as it had been, when it was a showcase for all that was fine in human art.
We're just running this one to running through. Get as many people in as far as possible.
By the artists of the 28th Expeditionary Fleet that had hung between them. In their stead were hideous abominations, contorted sculptures of a shocking nature, and artworks that depicted the profane and the obscene. The latter had been rendered in pigments derived from unclean fluids, which, left alone, had sprouted thick mats of mold. No attempt had been made to place these new adornments carefully, or to clear away the old. Shattered frames were heaped like driftwood. The bronze scraps scattered across the floors was obscured by a clotting film. The marble cladding of the walls was painted all over, and black liquid oozed from wide cracks. Onyx columns had been wrenched from their settings and lay broken, their engraved lists of victories reduced to jumbles of letters. The paving was where the metal of the deck should have been visible, there were only black, watchful pits. Worst of all was the silence. Sound was unnaturally mute. Battle raged outside, and the ship was under heavy bombardment. But unlike the gauntlet of power, whose halls rang to explosions and the howls of overworked machines, the pride of the Emperor did little but shiver from time to time, like a giant stirring in the sea. No light flashed through the high armor-glass windows of the avenue's apex. Discordant music drifted from somewhere. 3 screams issued from another direction, shockingly close. Gilliman had seen more overt horrors wrought by the minions of chaos, often on a stupefying scale. But there was a pregnant doom to the triumphal way that overtook even the goriest displays. Be on your guard, he said. Things are not as they seem. The pride of the Emperor no longer wholly occupies real space. Yes, Fox.
Yeah, no
this place thinks of the
world.
The Space Marine's mind is robust, altered during his apotheosis from human to superhuman, and hardened against fear by years of training. Gilliman's veterans took the disquiet in their stride. They arrayed themselves for battle, shield-bearing breacher teams taking up station near ingress points, Terminators forming up into squads, the Primarch's own Invictaris suzerains assuming positions that maximized the protection their shields could provide their rule. The disruption fields around their axis shot here. Half a minute went by before a voice resolved itself from the cacophony. My Lord Primarch, can you hear me? I have contact with you, Master Luden, said Gilliman. I have been attempting to reach you for several minutes, my lord. The Aurora chapter stands firm. We are meeting minimal resistance. There are... The chapter master's voice blurred out, replaced by wild shrieks. Only 14. Mostly bodies. All of them mutilated. We are proceeding towards our objective. Strike group vengeance, my lord, said another voice. A room blinked in Gilliman's display, marking out the position started after the 20 minutes. The report came with a background of banging bolters, the sound of atmosphere flashing.
She really fucking don't. This fucking off with me. Yeah.
With a smile. There were too few veterans left from the times before. The Nova Marines are engaged on 3 fronts, my lord, the chapter master shouted. Enemy numbers are higher than expected. Estimated arrival at target zone 12 minutes after intention. Keep me informed, said Gilliman. His own group remained armed. He contacted the other task forces. All but that of the Aurora chapter had been engaged by large numbers of the enemy. There were Emperor's children everywhere, but not on the Triumphal Way. Advance, Gilliman ordered. His guard broke into a swift stride as he set out, heading into the night that had hold of the pride of the Emperor. We will meet no enemy here. We cannot be undetected. This is another trap, said Anders. Of course it is a trap. My brother is challenging me, said
No,
Fulgrim was always to announce.
I know that, but...
Chapter 5. Gilliman's Mercy. The Indomitus Crusade had taken Gilliman away from the star realm of Ultramar, but still he found time to govern his home from afar. War raged in Ultramar, as it did everywhere else. The followers of the plague god, Nurgle, assailed the worlds of the Ultramarines, and the diseases of the enemy claimed far more lives than their bullets. At Rabute Gilliman's direct command, sick and injured soldiers were brought to the planet Iax from across Ultramar. Iax was tithed as an agri-world, but such was its beauty, it was informally referred to as the Garden Planet. That was before the war. The empire of the Ultramarines was bleeding manpower at a terrifying rate, and so Gilliman had redesignated Iax as a hospital world for the duration of the conflict. That is to say, most likely forever. Landing the sick and wounded at Iax's Hortusia spaceport took an amount of time congruent with the complexity of the task. The diseases spread by the enemy were supernaturally vigorous, so quarantine procedures had to be stringent. Like everything in Ultramar, if a job were deemed of enough importance to be done, then it would be done correctly. A fresh shipment of patients was coming in by shuttle. The decontamination crew returned to the landing field and its surrounding mushroom patch of white dome tents for the 17th time that day. Between each trip, the shuttles were cleaned on the ward ships in orbit, for that was the responsibility of their medical captains. But ensuring the purity of the landing fields fell to the Chirurgeon General's office on Iax. Though Caradamus, the Chirurgeon General of Iax, would have preferred to decontaminate the shuttles after their journey from anchor to the surface as well, speed had to be given some consideration. Cleaning the landing aprons was faster than cleaning the exterior of the landers. His concerns were allayed a little by the Adeptus Mechanicus biologicals attached to the Officio Medicae on Iax, who calculated atmospheric re-entry designed to burn the worst of any contamination away. Magos Kromek had suggested the landing field cleaning procedure could be omitted altogether, but Chirurgeon General Caradamus was diligent, and if he could avoid risks, he would. Besides, propaganda had its role to play. The ships were not serious vectors of infection. The soldiers they carried to Iax from the war's multiple fronts were. But they couldn't be turned away. The outgassings of high-pressure cleansing hoses of the aprons could be seen for miles. They were reassuring, so the landing aprons were cleaned and off. Upon Iax, the lesser sick recuperated alongside the injured. Some of the diseases unleashed into Ultramar could be treated under medium-range quarantine conditions with standard medicines. Others required specialist care, up to and including Adeptus Ministorum approved exorcism. Those suffering from the more aggressive, spiritually corrupting illnesses were held in specially commissioned stations in orbit. As few as possible were euthanized. If they could be helped, they were. This, it was said in Ultramar, was the difference between Rabute Gilliman's and the Emperor's mercies, and the beleaguered people of that realm took heart in their lord's concern for their well-being. In typical Ultramarian style, multiple imperial orders and officios were brought together to end the war's casualties, and they were made to cooperate by members of the new Officio Logisticarum, embedded in Ultramar's government. Regarding the screening of the injured and sick, the Officio Medicae was given free rein. Much of the processing went on in orbit. As the hospital warships arrived from Ultramar's war zones, the wounded soldiers on board were tested for infectious agents. Those passing the first round were transferred to smaller void ships, most commandeered for this purpose from the Chartist merchant fleet, or taken from among naval vessels, too badly damaged to be made combat-ready quickly. The smaller the better, in the chirurgeon general's view, for smaller ships could be more thoroughly isolated. During transit from the front back to Ajax, the soldiers were kept in solitary confinement to prevent the spread of disease, their physical needs attended to by services of only the highest classes of biological sanctity. There were not enough ships left to separate the sick from the injured before transit, not that it would have prevented cross-infection. So many of those wounded in battle, and now bound for Ajax, harbored disease unawares. Around Ajax, troops exhibiting symptoms were divided by type. The first appraised were those suffering purely from injury, be it physical or mental. They were also rigorously tested for disease. Those who proved free of secondary infectious conditions were separated from the rest and taken to the surface via decontamination protocols at the starfort Korstein, which had taken up anchor over Ajax for the purpose. The remainder of the casualties adjudged sick, injured or not, were returned to the main group. The sick were split into known and unknown pathogen groups, then further into physical, mental and spiritual afflictions, then by grade of severity, and finally, all these groups were divided between the wounded sick and the merely sick. After all this, groups were subdivided into numbered cohorts and relocated to holding vessels.
Bad news, just say cut the best one. Did you just fucking hit off and... Oh, good girl.
Those that passed the third test were deemed safe and transferred to certain facilities that treated.
Please, fine man, go on.
Those who failed the second or third
You
test
fucking
were
idiot.
to isolation ships where they were treated and repeatedly tested for pestilence. Those that did were transferred.
Very
Those
nice.
that did not were given their final blessings, and their corpses incinerated in psi-warded plasma lines. Thus it was that, with breathtaking efficiency, huge numbers of Ultramarian casualties were broken down in stages into manageable groups. Hundreds of thousands of men became thousands, then hundreds, then tens, and all were thoroughly, relentlessly catalogued by the Officio Medicae's division.
Good girl.
Elsewhere in the Imperium, such work would have been unimaginable. On most worlds, it would never have been undertaken. The sick would have been exterminated. The wounded would have been left to their fate. Not in Ultramar. The white and blue-clad human auxiliaries represented a significant investment in training, and most had accrued substantial combat experience. By treating and returning its casualties to the war, the realm of Ultramar kept its armies fighting without loss of effectiveness. By the preservation of life do we maintain our capability to mete out death. So the Primarch had said. Or at least, so the records indicated. Now Gilliman was among the living once more. It was possible to ask him if all the words attributed to him were truly his. For the first few years, Gilliman had been in the habit of correcting his subordinates, insisting many of his supposed sayings were wrong, until he had given up in exasperation. He was simply not believed by most, for whom the Primarch remained an ideal. They valued their preconceptions over the living evidence.
Never earned the right to get
that the efforts to
some,
save the troops' lives were undertaken in a manner at odds with
customization of them. You earned the right.
diminished in efficacy, something in Gilliman's methodology had survived the ages. Ajax had become the hub for all counter-plague efforts, a laboratorium and sanatorium both, where treatments for the war's ever-evolving sicknesses were concocted and disseminated to the fronts of Ultramar. The processing of casualties was labor-intensive, no matter how efficient, ensuring the purity of bulk landers was difficult, so they were forbidden from the surface. But smaller lighters or shuttles meant quick trips. As a result, landing all the troops from a single Medicaid launch took days, and there were always plenty more waiting. To the untrained eye, the cleansing of the landing aprons was an impressive sign of the diligence with which the screening procedures were undertaken. In reality, it was the least important and easiest, entrusted to low-ranking ground crew and monotask servitors, whose biologic components were sealed deep within inorganic frames. Kayaks had a pronounced axial tilt, and the southern hemisphere's autumn was coming to an end. It was evening and growing cold as the cleansing team climbed down from their transports. They unspooled their lines and passed through a spray gate, the only gap in the complex road. The huge hoses leading from the tankers looped over their backs and pointed at the ground. Their human forms were lost in the bulk of their protective suits, so that servitor and true man were hard to tell apart. Blasts of boiling water were followed by sheeting sprays of antivirals. Biokillers swept across the rockcrete. The water sent up huge columns of condensing vapor into the chill air. Appearances were maintained. When the cleansing had been done, priests in biohazard surplices marched out from the interconnected dome tents, crowding the apron. They trailed back and forth over the antiseptic ground, flicking aspergillums full of sanctified oils to banish psychic corruption that chemicals could not purge. Finally, the quarantine masters, the mid-ranking Medicaid officials, the freighter hospital imageries inferior and the local adeptus ministorum, and purity officers from the commissariat came out from the tents, inspected the work, gave their approval, and affixed their seals to the relevant order parchments. Only then was a lighter given clearance to land. The whole process took half an hour, every single time. The ground crew were kept on hand in case the cleansing had not been performed satisfactorily. With relief, they watched their superiors march back into the bubble tents around the field. As the last closure zipped shut, the crew wearily rolled up their disinfectant hoses, retreated back through the spray gate to their service vehicles, and spread across the landing fields for 40 minutes of rest, one cleansing closer to the end of their 18-hour shift. The field was now yielded to several Medicaid equipped with bulky horse racers attached to their suits with sealed, flexible pipes. Angry red lights flickered condemnatory patterns on the instruments above the services. Bright points shimmered against the heat, thousands of feet into the sky. The lighter came in fast. When it had grown to a growling, angular shape of black against the low sun, the Medicaid set off cleansing bombs around the landing apron that belched plumes of astringent white smoke. The lighter touched down in a mist of anti-biological agents, dropped its ramps without powering down its engines, and was away as soon as the last injured soldier was out of its hold. In this way, Tullius Marcus,
Commander, it would seem your recent activities have gotten advance attention. Our unwelcome guests has been diverting considerable resources and personnel to covert facilities across the globe. The exact details of these operations are highly classified. However, they do have one thing in common. A single word that appears in all their files. Avatar. I believe the black site we had previously uncovered to be but a part of this Avatar project. Based on what we've uncovered so far, its true scope is far greater. This project is being directed from the very top of Advent, from a source I am still unable to determine. All attempts to uncover its identity have been these facilities to help avoid themselves, disrupt our enemy's operations, and in the process uncover the truth. Locate the source of this Avatar project, and then destroy it. Were the enemy to succeed in their efforts, I am certain it would be the end for us all. I am confident you will take whatever measures necessary to eliminate this threat, Commander.
So the thing with the Avatar project is you can let it go all the way to the very end pretty much. This is one we can take out a black space before that hits, and even then it's still like 20 levels here. Okay. Alright, proving ground domain 290. Proving ground so fucking good though. That's what I think as well. Resistance comms. We got workshops set up. That means pretty much that I can fucking, you know, I can get these droids working on metals. 25 supplies, but also I've got fucking, it takes 1 tower as well. Yeah, I've got plenty of power now. I get that, but that means I can get a serious upgrades. It does. I need to all sorts of shit. In the workshop. I need to do a workshop today. Yeah, fuck it, I'll pay for itself sometimes, so I could pull both of them. Fuck it. Lightning strike is pretty good, but I kind of spend that kind of money on it. I just kind of justify it. 10 days. Right, that's not bad. 7 grand. I think we're just supposed to take the 7 grand, so fuck it. I can get supplies and all stuff. Yeah, just do it. Fuck it. There we go. Right. And by the time they're done, I'll have, hopefully, the guns will be getting ready. I mean, that's a big deal to get into Alright, holy shit, I did not really realise I have these up, I did not realise the time was tough. Very much. These things can take it, even the big boys pretty easy. Let's try to steal some shit if I can.
Though I was never witness to one myself, countless observers attest to the existence of a much smaller, less intimidating variant of the sectoid that took part in the original invasion. In the time since, this new being, the product of clear genetic manipulation, is now a familiar face to our forces operating in the field.
Talisar 30th Ultramar Auxiliary Regiment, He shuffled onto the apron with 100 others like him, blinking against daylight after a week inside a void ship cell. He carried nothing but his las rifle, his flak armor, and the uniform on his back. Everything else he owned had been incinerated. Stay close, Bolus, he said to the man beside him. Don't wander off. Bolus, an older man with rough salt and pepper stubble, stared ahead with the eyes of the profoundly disturbed.
I am at a loss for words to describe the difficulties we have had in attempting to handle this creature, affectionately known as the face to our troops. The nebulous form of its physical structure, including the pliable, semi-solid outer layer, seems to be slowly degrading now that the creature has expired. There's also a pungent odor that only seems to grow stronger as time passes.
Still standing where the ramp of the ship had deposited him. Sighing, Barons went back to Bolus's side.
Maybe we should start training someone else to pilot the Avenger.
He took his friend
You're
by
never
the
going to
arm.
get anywhere.
65.
Bonus had not been the same since the last assault at
How much? 125.
Once
Let's
voluble
see
and
how many
confident, he now went
I have to
meet
tell, but
where
it's me or
Barons
something
lay.
off the sword, but
Weapons in a pile in the red circle, armor and webbing in the green. A Medicaid barked through voxmeters set into his thick armor-glass visor.
200.
He pointed at painted circles offset from the entrance to the bubble tent complex.
Right.
Uniforms, everything, said one of the other soldiers. He was stupid with exhaustion. One of the Medicaid waved his burbling medical horsepace up and down his body. Everything.
Yeah, that's fucking huge. We never get that. Yes.
Wearily, the auxiliaries stripped. Emaciated bodies
Get that, come on. Get that.
Barons reached
Come
for
on.
Bolus's gun. His
Get
own last
that,
rifle
we'll get
slipped on a
much more
shoulder
money,
and
so
gone
we'll
scrawling.
next supply drop.
Rations, grazing his foot. The gun felt like it weighed as much as a heavy bolter, but he gritted his teeth
Fuck it,
against
and we may
the
get some
unslung
good
it,
shit for
and
that
took
as
hold
well,
of
actually.
Bolus's weapon as well, gently unhooking the strap from his friend's fingers. Best get undressed, he said to Bolus. Bolus looked at him wildly. 15! 15! He said. He jabbed a finger on his good hand at one of the other troopers, a man by the name of Gideon. Gideon was one of the few others Barons knew in the group. He was a braggart. Barons did not think much of him. 15! Bolus said, urgently gesturing at Gideon.
Yeah, you can just fucking have that.
Hey!
Yeah.
Barons snapped his fingers
You've
before
been good in that
Bolus's
run.
face.
There you go.
The older man quieted and stared at the weapons in Barons' hands with red-rimmed eyes, as if they affronted him. What? The guns? Said Barons.
Yeah.
I'll deal with those.
Just keep those
Get
two in there.
undressed, old man. I'll pile everything up for you. Don't draw attention to yourself. You got that? Bolus. Barons squeezed his shoulder. Reluctantly, he left him alone and trudged to the common surface. Guns and equipment made fragile-sounding clatters as they were tossed into
These missions can be kind of tricky for the guns.
right disrespecting their weapons like that.
Might
And he
remember.
scowled at his
Because
fellows.
it's like,
Most of them were
this
from
is a
worlds
turret.
far away.
Yeah.
They were too tired and too sick to notice his disapproval. He elbowed
As long as there's no timer, but we can just take our time and
Bolus's
get it done.
down at the surface.
And if we get past this one, I think we'll just give up pretty much once we get money, stuff after this, alloys and stuff, to do and make the guns.
I pray your spirit finds rest. Leaving his gun was like leaving his heart. But when he stood and let out his shaky breath, he realized it was a release to be reloaded. His hands went to the buckles fastening his webbing and armor. He was still clothed, but he was cold and shivering already, and his numb fingers struggled with the catches. It wasn't just the chill. His injuries troubled him. There was a core of flesh missing from his back, just below his shoulder blade. It was still raw around the edges, unnatural.
Paying attention.
He had
Probably
not
one of the best things to do when you're
noticed
playing Iron Man, not to be
one
like,
moment,
off paying
what had
attention.
been simple became fraught with pain.
There's
Try
no
as he
timer
might,
though,
he
so...
could not refuse to acknowledge the frailty of his own
Yeah,
flesh.
there's no timer, so I can
The
just take my
evidence
time
was
here
there
if I can.
in his
And
weak
we've got
fingers
fun as well up
slipping
here.
and the burn of the mark on his back. After half a minute of fumbling, the catch cooperated and undid. His shoulder blades slid from his body, taking a good portion of his bodily warmth with them. He wasn't looking forward to taking his uniform off.
You need to get rid of that
Bolus's
ponytail,
shouts
bud.
had him looking up. 15! Bolus was struggling in the restraining arms of a Medicaid. He was trying to get at Gideon, his hands outstretched. Shouted orders from the Medicaid team ripped across the throng, augmenters harsh. In a minute, there would be armed men emerging from the tents. Don't know what's got into you, old man, said Gideon, as Bolus lunged towards him. He smiled widely. You should calm down. Easy street for a month or so, before we're back to the front. 15! Shouted Bolus. He pawed at the Medicaid's faceplate. Stand down, shouted the man. His colleague was reaching for a compact weapon. It looked to Barons like the Medicaid were used to this kind of thing. He wasn't surprised. The sights they'd seen were enough to drive anyone insane. Hey,
That's
called
probably a
Barons.
good spot for it to
He
get
dropped
one.
his armor where it was
Let's be
and shoved
careful
his
here
way
for
back
the
through
next
the
one.
soldiers.
Hold on,
gaggle
where
that
is the
stopped to
bolt?
watch, and it made the going tough.
Way
He
over
carved
there.
a path with his elbows.
Bolus
Bolus had made no move to disrobe or remove his armor. Put your armor and webbing in the green circle, uniforms in the blue, one Medicaid shouted. The weather was out now. Varens was afraid how Bolus would react if he were trapped again. They grabbed at Bolus hard, making the man twitch and wail. "Leave him be," shouted Varens. "He's not in his right mind. He's suffering combat stress. Emperor's teeth. I thought you were healers. Can't you see? He'll be all right soon if you let him alone."
Oh, wait.
Bolus! Bolus, hey!
I'll try to put
The
disease,
Medicaid parted him to
another
let him
disease.
hear. "Varens!" spluttered Bolus. "Yes, my friend, it's me. Do as the Medicaid say. Do you understand?" Bolus looked at the medical staff suspiciously.
I'll try to make that
"Bolus,
snake here.
come on. Do you understand?" The
No, can you
Medicaid
stick me
still had his
fuckers?
weapon out. Bolus was oblivious to the device. Hesitantly,
We're
Bolus
joining, brother.
"Strip," said the Medicaid. "Armor in the..." "Yeah, we get it," snapped Varens. "I heard you 4 times already. I'll help him." He interposed himself between his friend and the medic. "We've been together for the last 2 years, fighting on Espandor. Where've you been?" "I don't have to answer you," said the Medicaid with a weapon. "Here," said the other one. "Only here." "Then you don't know what we've been through. Give him his due. If it weren't for men like him, you and all this would be nothing but ashes and slime. Plague warriors, Heretic Astartes, the walking Emperor damned dead. Bolus and I have faced them all, while you've been having a fine old time in your
right,
rubber
I fucking
suits.
thought so.
We're saving lives here," said the first Medicaid. "By the grace of the Emperor, we all have our roles to play. We are here to help you, but you both need to be processed. If he won't cooperate, he won't make it." Varens grabbed Bolus by the shoulder a little too fiercely, making him flinch. "This man saved my life 5 times. You have a lot of catching up to do if you think I'll let him die. Your choice, trooper." The weapon came on. Bolus calmed. Some of what had been said must have sunk in, because he was unclipping his combat weapon. "No, no," he said. "No, Varens, no."
Could potentially be
His
dangerous
head
because
jerked,
it's
barely
safe
under
flank.
control. His armor slithered to the ground in a mess of scraps. Mechanically, Bolus undressed. Varens did the same, watching his friend warily, but no more outbursts came. Bolus handed over his grubby white uniform. Varens bundled it up with his own. Their bodies, grimy and pale, were exposed to the unkindness of the autumn
3 and
air.
4, right?
The
So
Medicaid
take
finally holstered his weapon and passed his auspex over Bolus. It burred itself and plucked. A green lumen shone from the top.
I'm going to take it data.
"He's clean,
We'll injure them
but keep him
badly.
calm. This process takes time." "He'll be all right," said the third Medicaid. "I understand," said Varens. His anger
I
grinned
don't
away.
know, that's
He
that
was on a
many
hair
sort of try and take on at the same
Aggression had
time.
kept
Mate,
him alive,
wait a wee
able to
second and
react
just
quickly,
see.
effectively. Such an intense state of readiness didn't suit a place like this. The whole thing felt surreal
Right,
to him.
hold on. Let's
How could
just
the
take it a
Medicaid
wee bit
understand?
slower here.
The Medicaid waved his auspex over Varens' bandaged wound. "What happened to you?" "Flesh wound. Got it fighting Heretic Astartes,"
Well, if they
he
come a
said
wee bit
flatly.
closer even.
"Don't
See if
know
they
how."
go on stone
The
way them,
Medicaid
that'd be
wasn't impressed by
fantastic.
Varens' claim. "If you
Huh?
got wounded by traitor space marines, you should be dead." "Are
Right,
you
stay fuck
calling me a
off,
liar?"
that's fine.
said Varens. "I'm calling you lucky." The auspex made an angry bleat. "The wound is infected." "You don't say," said
You
Varens.
don't say.
"If a dozen screening processes haven't told me that, the burn in the skin does. The wound looks nastier than it is. It is not serious. The infection can be treated." The green light shone, and the Medicaid took the auspex away. "Main tent." "Emperor, we know. We could do with a little empathy here. Get us inside, out of the cold, or we'll catch our deaths. We're men, not munitions pallets." "You're not a man until you've been checked and triple cleansed, trooper. Until then, you're
Go
a
on,
vector
go
of
around, join
infection
them.
that
Go on.
endangers this whole world. Now keep your friend under control, or we'll have to give him
Well,
the
if he's
ultimate
walked back,
cure."
that'd be even better.
"We're here for
Right,
Gilliman's
they're
mercy,"
fucked off, which
said
is
Varens.
fantastic.
The Medicaid laughed behind his mask. "Mercy is in short supply. Dump your kit and proceed to decontamination." The man was already
Okay.
waving his auspex over the next trooper. "A disease vector, is that right?" called
It's
Barnes.
4%, I don't think you need that.
I'd check out Trooper Gideon then. He pointed out the other man to the medic. Bolus and I have been fighting the Plague Lords for so long, he's developed a nose for disease. Barons helped Bolus put his uniform and equipment onto the white piles. Then they joined the line of shivering men heading into the tents. None of the auxiliaries were in a good way. Without exception, the naked bodies around Barons bore traces of disease and trauma. A lot of them had passed this way before, as shown by the way they were lining up and doing what was required without being told. Stoic. Barons was confident,
Are you kidding me, Gal?
and exhausted.
Come
Only
on.
the discipline instilled in him by the auxiliary kept him from snapping.
Oh, well. But, it's in a good position, that's where I left my other assault. He's like going fucking nowhere. Nowhere. One health, come on guys. I don't need to worry about you there. Oh no. Good girl. Good girl.
He pushed his way through 3 sets of plastic strip doors and into the foggy air of the decontamination chamber. Chemical steam filled his nose and made his eyes water. His wounds stung under his restless. Whatever awaited Gideon in 10-3, Barnes hoped it was less fun than this. He deserved it.
If I go in there, you'd think me. Oh man.
As if sharing a special.
Good night, Red.
Barnes' brief humor blew away like the steam billowing from the pipes.
Hopefully they don't come back just yet. They're gonna have something to stay up.
Barnes hoped a respite from the war would help Bolus's mind heal, but he wasn't confident. He had seen battle shock before. The only cure that was sure to work was a mercy bullet. He had never thought Bolus would fall prey to it, and that made him angry. Bolus had been so brave, so unshakable. If he could lose his mind, then anyone could. Come on, old man.
I'll walk back now.
He
Maybe I'll walk back.
Bolus's arm again. His skin was damp and loose on wasted muscle. His regimental tattoos distorted by the sand. Time for a
Come on, walk back.
Under Bolus's armpit, there was a brief squirm.
Right.
If Barons had seen that, he would have known that battle
Alright, a bit dodge. A bit slow. That's fine. Go on, try and run around your foot. Come on.
The Battle of Orcus.
Get that fucker out. Good. Good.
Gathered on the command deck of the McCrack's Honor around
Good.
by the Private.
And
The command throne of Fleet Master Kestry, which was set.
oh, lovely.
Astra Militarum
That was fucking lovely.
Sisters superior of battle comrades. Adeptus Mechanicus Archimagi stood in clusters of orange, rust, and blood red
Oh,
roses.
yeah. You like to run happy with you? There you go. So does she.
Princeps had come down from their Titan steel skulls, ill at ease to be surrounded by so many people. They were naval wing commanders and captains of capital ships. Sisters of Silence stood aside from everyone else, their disquieting auras eliciting shudders. The augments of Skitari flame commanders buzzed. Departmenta Munitorum and Officio Logisticarum officials talked in low voices. Historians recorded the occasion discreetly. Every branch of the Imperium's forces and those who supplied, directed, and supported them were represented there, whether in person or as one of the ghostly holograms projected by the servos swarming above the throne. Through the grand oculus, the plough-blade prow of the McCrack's Honor pointed in challenge at the pit of Rorkos, a huge, lazily turning interface between the war and real space. The pit of Rorkos was set apart from the Great Rift, but although an isolated, it was a deep one, punching a hole through space-time into the heart of the war. It was an area of bruised void, millions of miles across. Purple around the periphery, towards the middle, its coloration tended to putrid yellow-white, and at the very center, a vast, dark orb, like the pupil of an eye, rotated with the ferocity of a pulsar. At the edge of the pit languished the system around a medium red star. It had never been settled or given a name by mankind, but bore the Adeptus Astra Cartographica designation of 108 Beta Calipus 9.2. Gravitic shear drew long plumes of incandescent gas from the star towards the comet, which was slowly consuming it.
Oh.
In the years since the Great Rift,
Oh no.
the sun had been
Oh, you poor bastard.
the planets
Going
that
top.
orbit
Yeah, alright. And that's it. Still with a start. Does the wee bit, and that's all we need.
and bending it into loops that reached for the greatest slash in
Oh, yeah.
centuries maledicted,
There you
like
go.
parasites migrating.
Let's see what happens.
Such dimensions were once
There you go. Oh, yes.
the Great Rift split the galaxy side to side, and 1,000 places like the pit of Orcos pierced reality.
Right, so they two are killed. Right, this is snake left.
From its churning depths
Fantastic.
came half-mad vessels crewed by children's
Okay.
nightmares. Impossible monsters crept,
Go on,
chewing
go.
out of the shadows on worlds for lifetimes around. Most of these things had only a brief foothold in reality, and the more esoteric types died as soon as they were burned, smearing to glowing corpuscent by the laws of material physics. Disturbing as they were, such minor Neverborn were not the real threat. The pit of Orcos was an open gate to the demonic legions of the greater powers. Given form by the wills of their dark gods and sustained by the unnatural energies of the rift, they did survive, and armies of them periodically emerged from Orcos. The terror they generated fed them further, and so the cycle of horror continued. Gilliman stared unflinchingly into the unclean cyst of the pit. Another lost system, Stratarchy's tribune Actuarius Maldemar Colquhoun. 5 others of his order stood guard behind the front line. When he spoke, it was as if every affront to the Imperium he saw. He was well aware that for 10 millennia, the Emperor's bodyguard had died. All Colquhoun had to offer in recompense was gore. When Gilliman had returned to town, he had discovered a warrior brotherhood blinded by grief and duty, uninterested in anything that had to be purpose. Crisis after crisis had found the foundations of the and the Adeptus Custodes had retreated further. They had finally come out from behind the palace walls and now the pendulum was running too far. The golden warriors of terror were in danger of being blinded by rage.
Loving this.
Our own. See how the enemy gather around it. Their temple nears completion. A hololithic strategic display showed the system and its monstrous parasite as a series of neutral graphics. The pit looked so bland, rendered that way, an innocuous nebula. The Chaos Fleet was gathered at the world of 108 Beta Calibus 9.2, invisible to the unaided eye, but clear enough to the orbits of the Macranzon, and bright dots of light tagged with data squad swarmed
Well
at
done,
high
Peter.
angle
Well
around
done.
a single point, the orbital fame of the word bearers. The Primarch's voice needed no amplification to reach all of his commanders. His words carried into the furthest reaches of the command. When he spoke, all stopped listening. A temple is under construction here. It must be destroyed. This is a staging post for our enemies, but it is for no mundane resupply that they come to the pit of Orcos. He pointed at the black eye. They come here to make blood sacrifice and call upon their diabolical gods to favor them with aid from their servants. From this rift, demons walk and lend their power to the traitors. Such doorways must be closed. The ability to do so eludes us for now, but they will be closed.
Only 5, but
I swear this in the Emperor's name.
Sorry.
Until
Yeah.
then, the
That
monsters
was
that come
exactly
from
what we
within
need.
them will be
Alright, so
beaten back, and the thresholds guarded by the mightiest warriors the Imperium can spare. So we shall divide the mortal servants of chaos from their unnatural allies. The Indomitus Crusade has swept from one end of Imperium Sanctus to the other, bringing retribution to our foes. I propose we add one further victory to our tally. The crowd cheered loudly. Booming transhuman voices joined with mortal shouts and chittering data.
Honestly, none of that really bothers me.
The pit
What
grew
I
in
miss
the
the
Oculus
most
as the
is
fleet
my equipment.
accelerated. A large part of Fleet
There's
Primus had
certainly
been
no
gathered.
shortage of resources on this
Dozens
side.
of capital ships led the battle groups Alphas, Cerastus, Dominus, and Gamma. The artificial stars of their engine stacks flared brightly as they maneuvered into attack positions. Gilliman had the armada arranged in a 5-fingered claw. The long talons were arrayed in lines to pound the enemy as they passed. The palm was
Knowing that my past surgical experience is limited, I am sure the crew appreciates that I hone my skills on fallen adverse forces before triaging our own wounded. To the uninitiated, the common advent trooper is seemingly human. The aliens have disguised its most glaring divergence from the human form with a carefully designed
The
helmet.
null ships of the Sisters of Silence flew protected by 3 battleships. The battleships were
If
clearly
any advantage the advent hybrid soldiers enormous eyes provide,
for the foe they
testing their
faced, these
visual
mighty
acuity
vessels were not
will
the
no
battle
doubt
group's
prove
deadliest
difficult.
weapon.
I
The
can
ships of the
improve.
Sisters have been gathered to the Indomitus Crusade from all across the Imperium. Their
Okay.
diverse origins had been no barrier to
Pretty
Gilliman's
good.
Above the Vox pit, the Master Divulgator was tall banks of organ pipes, each one a powerful Vox meter hitting from the neck down. His head was encased in a bulky communications suit. Only his
Hopefully
mouth
there's some
was
decent
visible.
stuff here. Maybe like, I don't know, a fire grenade or something, that'd be good.
In an hour, my lord.
Something, I don't know.
Seconded,
Build,
said the
that'd
Master
be good.
Wolf, from his own station, high up on the step walls. A sub-kingdom
Not
of
an engineer.
screens and hard-wired
Fucking
circuits.
hell yeah.
Big icons blinked in the hololithic Tacticarian wall, dotted lines flickering its beam, describing their trajectory and ultimate position. Before being returned to Gilliman, the McCragg's Honor had undergone an extensive refit in the shipyards of Metallica.
She just got a massive upgrade. I might even swap it for one for
All
one.
stamp was on everything. New machines and unheard of configurations of old devices replaced equipment that had been in use for tens of centuries. The tech priests had been outraged, but Gilliman had silenced them, and Cole had had his way. The result was worth upsetting the Adeptus Mechanicus' religious sensibilities. The machinery still had the ugly look of 41st millennium technology, but Gilliman reckoned there was a 10% increase in tactical responsiveness alone. Multiple redundancies and newly integrated systems allowed for better survivability. Dozens of tech priests from Cole's faction labored to keep the Archmagos' finely balanced design working. But it did work, and excellently so. My lords and ladies, today will be a great day for the Imperium. I commend you to the protection of the Emperor.
That's for you, buddy.
Now, go to your vessels and war machines, to your transports, to war. War! 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 They responded. The majority of the commanders left. Hololiths blinked out. Soon the command deck was empty, but for Gilliman's core command staff and the ship's bridge officers, though that still amounted to almost 400. Above the graphic of 108 Beta Calibers 9.2, the dull red signifiers of enemy craft began to move. The enemy responds, said Gilliman. All fleet to engage full thrust. We fall upon them without mercy. Fleet Master Kestrin stood from his throne. McCragg's army. Thrust. All fleet to full thrust, repeated the Master Divulgatus, sending me
Oh, this is a potentially dangerous one.
activity spread out across the tiered workplaces and station base.
Potentially very dangerous.
Field integrity technicians adjusted the matrices that stabilized the ship's frame, compensating for the cutting acceleration. Tech priests passed on minute adjustments to their counterparts deep in the ship's engine rooms. Reactor ready, reported a metal-faced tech adept. Enginarium ready, said a man in a smart ensign's uniform. A coterie of electrical forces began the body electric. Tech priests muttered their prayers in the
So, these ones can be potentially quite fucking dangerous, so they can... You just need to be careful.
Calculations
Anyway.
required to move the McCragg's Honor from its current position into its attack run, flickering through their butchered brains. Cogitators leaped out rapid beats of binary data transfer. Compliance. Engines operating at maximum efficiency, the servitor said with one voice. Full thrust in 3, 2, 1, mark, said the master postmaster. Mark, engaging. A rumbling sound drawing closer, like the approach of a great engine. A tremor passed up the ship, growing stronger. Machines burned as it passed through their fabric. It joined with the never-ending throbbing of the ship's systems, became one with it, passed from the cruise notice. Acceleration was a gentle push in the chest, a trailing heaviness that dragged the
Well, it's not that far, but it's potentially a lot in here.
the speed of light. Around it, the fleet's engines blinked into life as all the vessels began their acceleration, holding formation for the flagship. 108 Beta Calipers 9.2. The first round of projectiles came at them not long after. Destroyers escorting the larger cruisers and battleships fired anti-munitions weapons in response. A series of terrific explosions started up and soon became a constant accompaniment to the advance. A handful of torpedoes got through, dangerous for their kinetic energy or the payloads they carried, but they exploded upon the void shields of the ships, thousands of feet short of the hulls. The shields blinked and flashed as they shunted destructive energies into them.
Okay, so...
Gilliman watched without concern. Such long-range exchanges were never decisive, nor particularly damaging. On the main Tacticari, the fingers of Gilliman's claw formation expanded. He tapped out a few orders on a data slate to adjust the position, but for the moment, the most important part of his plan was being performed correctly. The null ships were moving between the pit of Rorkos and the planet. Their presence would disrupt any demonic incursion that might come through, while Sisters of Silence, Grey Knights, and Endless Astartes stationed across the fleet were ready to deal with any on-board manifestations. There would be no supernatural aid to the expert. They approached 108 Beta Calipers 9.2, now showing itself to be a dull orange ball.
What my God? What's up?
Miserable patches of green covered its equatorial.
Oh my God. What is that? Whoa. Alright. I know you're bored. I know. Oh, but... Please be able to make the drink get your cheeks, you know? Alright. Come on, can I get you big scratches? Can I? Can I get you big scratches in there? I wonder, like, if I ran hand on
This last formation made up the majority of the fleet, and its ships fanning out in a standard interception pattern towards the left coast of the two leading Imperial groups. The challenge was there in the word-bearer's fleet. Something at the scale of the orbital
he tries to run.
Word-bearers were better organized.
And he gets fucked. Wow, shit, dude. Go on. Try him. You get with that gun now. He doesn't. Oh, he does. Let's see, you been practicing? You have been practicing. What, you want belly rub? Alright, I'll give you a wee belly rub. Fuck's sake, I can't even. I did 3 different things.
The second finger of his claw was intercepted.
I'm trying to listen. Come on. Belly, come on, stop it, please. Just come. I'm just going to unlock the shield and put me on board. Don't give me that. What? What do you want? Come on, stop it. No, stop it, my girl. Come on, stop it. Put the phone down. Essentially a bad move there, so you get spotted. Wow.
The remaining 2 cruisers were coming straight for the claw's path. Gilliman's hands tapped out targeting data on his instruments. All grouping Gamma, target and annihilate traitor battle group, he said. The Master Divulgatus relayed his orders to the relevant ships. They are rash, said Tribune Corporal. They cannot get by us. Perhaps. They may be attempting to disrupt our formation. To damage one battle group, we have 4, and the wall of the claw palm is impassable. Then to distract us, or perhaps there has been a falling out between their warlords. Or maybe they are running. Gilliman decided to space and the Tacticari to spare the custodian advance. I make no assumptions. Neither should you. as he spoke, his scar itched, reminding him of the last time he had been in there.
Well, usually,
The situation the Primarch had
nothing to get views like an it.
Colquhoun's lived. Gilliman did not relent. Though they remained superlative individual warriors, the Adeptus Custodians had rarely served as generals since the old times, and centuries of isolationism had dulled what command abilities they had once possessed. Never underestimate the enemy, Colquhoun. 9 times out of 10, a mixed group of traitors will be disorganized and internally divisive. They will try and destroy you. Their greatest lords can forge the most antagonistic warbands into a devastating fighting force. Their intentions here are counter-envelopment and delay. Their sorcerers will be attempting to summon demonic allies, while their battle fleet keeps us occupied. He glanced at his conciliar psychic. Several space marines and my father's librarian stationed close to the were all in this position by the nearby systems assigned. It is so, confirmed Elliot. Caduceus Donas Max, your northern chapter. There is a weakening in the veil. The warp is unquiet. Warp spawn heads will not help them. Gilliman put in his mind the unspeakable things the sorcerers would be doing. The creatures of the gods would only come to offerings of blood, souls, and pain. My lord, said the Master Hawking, primary target will be within range in 10 minutes, 9 seconds. He is 50 seconds off in his estimation, said Colquhoun. If you prefer, you can take Colquhoun plainly dismissed. The main body of the Chaos was coming into range.
Come on, you can be easy on yourself for straight, man. You really mess with you. Really.
Screens of data augurs of the fleet gathered more information. 5 battleships formed the core of the chief group. 3 were of the word-bearers Trinity, as Gilliman had expected. The remaining 2 belonged to the Iron Warriors. Ancient beacons in their corrupted hulls broadcast codes dating back to the Great Crusade. Gilliman recognized the names of 2 of the ships. The fleets of Chaos often differed to those of the Imperium.
What are you, Miguel?
Classes of vessel
What is it? What, you want to the back or something? What?
Their battleships
You
were
want? You
speared.
want a treat? Or you want some water? I'll be back in a second. Okay, we're back. Alright, you got your feet and you went to the back side, like, alright. Alright, let's see, where were we? You gotta get me killed with girls here. I could get hard to take that shot and then just see how it goes. What about you? Hold on. If you could get up here, maybe we got flank on him. You would actually. What's that? So you're far enough away from the other ones here. I don't think I'll ever get it. Man. Good fucking man. I'm not going in there for you, silly dog. I just don't. Take him go. And that guy's a bit blow up as well. What you see, good? What you? Right, now. Come on. Whoa. Right up. There you go. Getting scratchy, right? Come on, I need to focus here. And then, what? I'm not going now. No, you're not getting in there, see? Like, no. Goody bastard. No, you just had fucking 2 treats and a bit of cheese. Like, the fuck is it? What? What is it? What do you want? No, no. What? No, I'm not getting you any more treats. No, you're just being fucking greedy. No. Come on, no. I know you're bored, but come on, no. You just put your energy back here. You've been a super fucking day. Alright. Okay, I know when that term dog tired comes through now.
Infiltrating access point.
Go on, go. I win. Always a big old that. God damn it. You can hack, you could hack pretty much in this game. I mean, like, if I knew the end of the mission and you've got time, you really should.
On the move. I hope it's worth it.
Okay, be careful here. What you, Bella? What is it? What, my girl? What, you want me the back now? Is that it? Oh, for God's sake, Doug.
On the move.
All right, I'll go.
I'm already.
Position confirmed. The VIP is secure and we're on the move.
Menace 1-5 status confirmed. VIP is in tow. Proceed to the extraction point.
Sure thing.
Dennis 1-5, we're picking up an enemy transport inbound on your current position.
Stay up here and get ready to kill him. I don't know. I don't want to take the risk. Can you make it?
Stepping off. Get it done. Good to go.
Got it. Moving. Ready to boogie. I'm gone.
I'm out of here. Heading home. Ready to boogie.
I really don't want to make all that shit while we're ambushing, but more than that, surely.
Status confirmed. Mission accomplished.
Sorry, Bella's got the midnight fucking munchies so she is. Right, but that's what you're getting then, Matt, right? Don't annoy me anymore. Did you swallow that whole fucking thing, you idiot? We meant to fucking chew it in that stuff. Right, don't annoy me anymore, no. Come on, I like at the back, you've been fed. Alright, come on. You got your nice wee midnight snack there. No, don't even try it. There we go. 2 repeaters. Not so bad. Engineer, we're home to internal bad. What are you doing? What's up for you? Hey my girl, you're hype. Did you swallow that too fast, you fucking idiot, did you? Take your time. Okay. Nah, don't even try it. Nah. Fuck off, you're getting nothing else. No. Don't give me that look. Hell no. What? What? Right, no more.